Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today for this technique short video. So today what we're covering is tension reduction work for beginners. So these are the basics. If you watched any of my song series, you would have heard me say several times that working to eliminate tension as a singer or to eliminate is completely if you can, although it's something we always deal with, that it's really crucial to good technique. It's my second tier of the 3 tiers of technique that I teach. So we're starting with the basics today. What we're going to cover is where in your body as a singer you most likely experience tension. Second, some really easy relaxation things to do. So easy it's laughable. Just things that you can do before you start working through some technique or before you start singing, just to remind your body and your brain to let go of those spots in your body. And then third, we'll cover 2 of the most basic tension exercises that you can work on to just dip your foot in the pool of reducing some of those things in your voice. So let's get started first by exploring where in your body you're going to be experiencing tension. So I would say the 3 most common areas, the ones I talk about the most, that you can experience tension is neck, jaw, and your tongue. So neck. As a beginner, you might notice that maybe when there's a really high note or you're belting something big, you might experience a craning of your neck. So that's forward, like if you're reaching a high note, it's so funny, your brain will tell you like, oh, it's high, therefore we must reach. I don't know why that's there ingrained in our brains, but it is, and we have to fight it. So reaching up with our neck for a high note, reaching down for a low note, tucking our chin, oh, you know what I mean? That is 2 things that are not going to help you reach those notes. And then just craning forward, just engaging our neck. I used to do it as a young singer when I thought that I was, like trying to communicate to the audience, craning my neck forward. So any of that is putting pressure on the back of your neck. It's also straining the muscles here. And the goal of tension reduction work, whether we're talking about your neck, jaw, or tongue, is all about relaxing those spots so that we can have the most free and easy sound production as possible. So any of the craning, down, up, forward, is going to put pressure against your voice. There's so many more nuanced things that I could talk about exactly how that's working, but since this is a basic video, I'm going to leave it at that. So any of that craning, and also even just being still, sometimes it can be very tight in the neck. That's more of an intermediate to advanced issue, I would say though. So for beginners, you'll notice it most when you're craning your neck. So that's how you can see tension in the neck. As for the jaw, you're going to feel the tension in, I think, a pretty significant way. So if you're experiencing jaw tension, most likely it's because of a few things. Either you are overstretching your mouth, it is getting way too big. It happens the most for belters. So if you're a belter and you're singing a song and you're going for a big brassy note, and you're doing this, you're tensing up the ligament that's right here between your upper and lower jaw. And it feels like you're supporting the note by doing that, but really you're getting in the way of a really vibrant sound, just like we talked about with the neck. Anything that's providing tension is actually really getting in the way of a free, easy sound. If you watch the great singers, even while they're belting a big note, they're still pretty free. There's not a ton of tension going on. It doesn't look like they're craning or stretching. It doesn't look like they're in pain. So that's often what we see. We see a overstretching. Another way to experience jaw tension is cupping, like using your lower jaw to help get underneath a sound. And that's what's happening in your brain, at least. Your brain is like, we're helping that sound lift up. So I've noticed that with some people, and that can often be a genetic issue where you just have a pronounced lower jaw and it's just hard to control sticking it out and getting stuck. So some tensions are about craning or stretching, and some tensions are about getting stuck in a spot and it feels really stiff. So that can happen in the jaw as well. As Americans, and English speakers, we over-enunciate everything, so you can also feel some tension in your jaw while you're singing when you're just like really just trying to overpronounce everything you're singing. And we'll talk a lot about that more in intermediate and advanced technique videos about how to relax when you're singing through some consonants, which can feel more explosive. So that's your jaw. Your tongue is a lot more elusive. It's really hard to know as a beginner singer if you have tongue tension, which is where a private voice teacher comes in. Someone who recognizes the sound and sometimes the sight of your tongue getting in the way and getting tight and letting you know. You can do some work on your own by looking at a mirror and watching, but until you really know what you're watching for and listening for, it's really tough. So if you're at that place as a singer and you're financially able to take a private voice lesson, then that particular issue really does need a knowledgeable person to draw your attention to it. In general, tongue tension is happening when the tongue is either drawing back in the mouth and it's just like cutting off. Basically what it's doing is in the way of all of the vibrant air and sound that you're creating and just putting a barrier on it. So, very free, right? Lots of resonance. Tongue not in the way. Tongue very in the way. And the sound is like back stuck inside my body. That tongue was in a weird up position. You could even see my jaw was kind of tight. So those are the more obvious ways to see that the tongue is tight and in your way. And then in advanced and intermediate videos, we can talk more about the more subtle ways that your tongue gets in the way. But in general, all these things we've discussed, any kind of tightness, stiffness, that's tension we don't want. So next we're going to talk about how to relax those things and do some exercises to make sure that they're not getting tight, to do some work beforehand to make sure that it's not happening while we're singing. So, easy things you can do to prepare your body is massage. Like I said, it was going to be laughable. It's very simple. Just taking a moment to stretch. Yoga can be really great if you're having quite a lot of tension. Some singers like to go as far as doing some sort of physical activity to release, nothing strenuous. That's why yoga is recommended. So light stretching, and I don't even need to show you just anything, just, your first anything to just kind of signal to your body that we're letting go of anything that we're holding. And then you can do some specific things like a neck massage. I like to call it kitten paws on the back of your neck, just kind of squeezing lightly back and forth right through this area, the back of your neck, through your shoulders. You can also gently do these little pressurized fingers up the front and the side of your neck. Sometimes feels good. And then you can lead that up into your jaw. So you want your jaw to be released too, and you've got this tendon right here. And you can do some light massaging on that tendon. You can also get your knuckles in there. Don't ever push so hard that you feel any pain, okay? The massage should feel like a relief, okay? Never more than that. So you can massage here. I like to do what's called false chewing on top of that massage. It feels really good. It's like an inner massage. You look silly, but it feels good. Great. A tongue stretch, simple. Stick your tongue all the way out to the point where it feels good, not hurting. Because the tongue is a really long muscle. It's actually really at the base, all the way back there. And then you can fold your tongue, and then push it forward. And that's kind of releasing the base of your tongue that often is the elusive part that gets really tight that we can't quite tell as beginners. So those are a couple of very easy things you can do to set yourself up before you're singing. And then the two exercises I wanted to share with you today are something called trills. So if you've never heard of this before, there's two versions. There's the lip trill and the tongue trill. And most everyone can accomplish them right off the bat. Some of you might find some difficulty and you might need to practice. And I've even had students watch YouTubes that teach you how to lip trill and tongue trill, and they said they were helpful. So Yeah, they look like this. Let's do lip trill first. So I'm going to play this easy little figure right here and lip trill through it. That's a lip trill. Do that with me. You can do it just on a side to practice it, or just dry with no sound. You might want to start there and then incorporate a sigh. And then when you feel really confident that you have a good flowing lip trill, you can add some notes. I want you to notice what we're accomplishing here is a paintbrush style of connection, right? So everything's flowing from one to the other. You don't hear me do. There's no connection there. We don't want that. We want it to be one note flowing into the other when we do actually put notes on top of this exercise. What's happening with the lip trill is it's just preparing the body to stay loose. So while you're doing a lip trill, it requires only air. That's really it, air and maybe a little bit of pushing your lips together. So it's a nice exercise for making sure you're connected to your air. Because I literally can't do this exercise without a really good low belly breath, connecting and coming back out. So it's that, and also it doesn't require anything that feels like the neck needs to be engaged, the jaw, the tongue. It's a neutral exercise. You can warm up through your range of your voice in a neutral space, which is just setting you up to stay relaxed while you're actually maybe switching later to vowels and actually words in your song. So the tongue trill is just like the lip trill, except we are just sticking our tongue out through our lips instead of keeping our lips, together. We're sticking our tongue out, and we're passing that air that's connected right here over our tongue. So pretty much the same exercise, except we're specifically with the tongue trill focusing on relaxing our tongue. So you can't make a tongue trill. If you're having trouble doing it, it's because your tongue is probably tight. So you can't do a tongue trill without a very loose tongue. So I like to do my hand like this to show students, like, this is what your tongue is doing in there when you're doing it right. It's just kind of bouncing around with your air. If it's like this and air is trying to pass over it, I'm not going to be able to do it. It's kind of like that, although I over-exaggerate for this purpose of the video. So once you've gotten a dry one out and you're able to accomplish it in a long stream of air, take your breath. If you got that, now add a sigh. And once you've accomplished that, then you can move on and add some pitches to it. And again, we want that paintbrush stroke sound where every note is connected to each other. So you're working on your air connection to all of the notes, and you're also working on your tongue staying loose. I like this motion. If you give your brain a visual, it helps with the connection, or this visual. Usually, I like to put something physical that I can look at to emulate, so that my brain kind of catches on to what's happening. So that's a really quick introduction to those two exercises, besides all the rest that I told you. So this is just the easy basics, the first toe in the water to thinking through tension in your body as a singer. So yeah, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to expand on both those exercises and other tension exercises as I continue making videos that then move into intermediate level and advanced level. So for today, if you are a beginner and you're learning the basics, you're already on your way to getting a good firm technique. If you've watched the breathing episodes I put out about the basics of breathing, this is a great next step for you to work on your breath moving into tension reduction. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next video.